All right, so this is my example project for you all. So as you can see here, again, remember we have that welcome slide because this is going to be, again, our replacement for a presentation that we would have had if we were meeting in person. So because we're not meeting in person, this is kind of our replacement assignment for that. So with that being said, this is the slide that will welcome myself as the teacher who's grading it, will welcome me into your guys' presentation. So again, with this slide, all you're doing is introducing yourself and letting me know what novel you picked to go over. So here I have some of these kind of Gothic literature elements here. We have a ghost, we have a werewolf, we have a zombie here, and then we have one of these haunted houses. Because again, our structure to this whole presentation is going to be around a haunted house. And then in the background, I have this kind of spooky and eerie background right here. All right. So this is my kind of welcome page. And again, audio, what it'll look like. And again, I'll go over how to insert audio after I kind of walk through this with you all. But audio, the only thing I'm really asking for you guys here, again, is introducing yourself and letting me know what novel you picked. So if I click here.
All right, welcome everyone to my haunted house. My name is Noah, and I have chosen the novel, The House Taken Over.
So again, that's just my audio for the welcome slide. It's just saying this is my name and this is the novel that I've picked. So this is an example of the welcome page. And again, everything that I'm about to go over is just one example that you can be using. So this is not like you guys need to make sure your assignment looks like this. This is just to spark inspiration, to spark ideas as to what you can kind of make your assignment look like. So again, I've had this kind of background. I've added some Gothic literature monsters and then a haunted house and then a welcome. My little Bitmoji is saying welcome because that's kind of my greeting into this presentation. So now if we move on, we have this plot in setting slide. And so as you guys can see, remember that the red is your instructions to each slide. So for instance, this red right here says provide 3 sentences about the plot and include a description about the setting. So as you can see here, my information, I would, if I was the teacher grading this, I would have to mark off some points because this is only 2 sentences. So it says provide 3 sentences and then a description of the setting. And I only have 2 sentences here. So I would have to add another sentence in order to get full credit, as well as a description of that setting. But for here, what I've done is I've created this background of that is reflecting my information. So the information here says a brother and sister live simple lives in a house that seems to be a bit boring. However, we soon discover that they are not alone in the house and that something or someone is taking over the house. So again, I have this kind of simple life kind of going on. We have just this living room with my 2 Bitmojis representing the brother and sister. And then I have these monsters in the background and I have different kinds of monsters because I wanted to show that we don't really know what the monster is. It could look like any one of these because we as the audience never figure out what the monster looks like. So I'm kind of saying it could be an invisible ghost. It could be, this is some kind of lizard or some kind of dragon. And then over here we have a octopus with like little devil horns. So different kinds of monsters because we don't know what it actually looks like. And so my picture here, my outline, what I've created resembles the plot and setting of what I put down here. And then my audio is really just 30 seconds and it is reading this off. And then I chose to go into a little bit of description of why I selected the things that I chose. So I went into kind of explaining what my Bitmojis are representing and then what my monsters, why I included 3 of them. So I'll just play it and let you guys watch this real quick.
A brother and sister live simple lives in a house that seems to be a bit boring. However, we soon discover that they are not alone in the house and that something or someone is taking over the house. As you can see here, I have my 2 Bitmojis and they are representing the brother and sister. And then I have some monsters in the background, as well as an invisible ghost here in the middle to represent that we don't really know what the monster taking over the house is. We just know that something supernatural is going on in the house.
All right, so there is an example of some audio with the information portion. So I gave you guys a little bit of audio for the welcome, which is really just my name and the novel that I picked. And then as we are diving into the information part of our presentation, I've included what the audio can look like in your information parts of the slide. So I really just read this off. Again, I would still have to add another sentence, but I really just read off what I put here. And then I personally wanted to give more information about why I put these little Bitmojis here and what each thing kind of represented. Because again, what we are decorating our slides to look like should be reflecting the titles up here. So my plot, I've kind of tried to resemble my slide to look like the plot. And then as we move on to characters, these little images here represent the characters that I've chosen. And I've chosen the narrator right here, because my little Bitmoji is reading a book, he's reading the story, he's narrating it. And then we have Irene here, because if you guys remember in this novel, Irene's big hobby is that she likes to knit. So I chose a image of a girl knitting. So if you don't like to use Bitmojis, or if you don't have a Bitmoji, that's completely fine, because here are some examples of images and people and individuals on the slides that aren't Bitmojis. So again, here's just a random girl who's knitting that represents Irene. And then the creature right here, I just kind of typed in monster on these Google images. And this is the first thing that came up, or not the first thing, but one of the things that came up. I didn't really know what it was. Maybe it's from a video game, I'm not too sure. But I thought this is kind of mysterious looking, and that's kind of that kind of embodies the creature in the novel. So that's why I selected that to be the creature. And I don't have audio for this one either. And as you guys can see, again, our red instructions right here, it says name 3 characters in the novel and provide 2 to 3 sentences of description. Excuse me. And I've only given 1 sentence each. So I would have to go back as the student and put in 1 more sentence to reach that requirement. All right. And then moving on, just real quick, we have this slide, which is the Gothic literature element and quote. Select 1 major Gothic literature element. Here's my 1. There's probably a ghost or monster in the story. And then I found a quote from the text. So again, the house taken over. And I thought that this quote here represented that there's probably a ghost or monster in the story. And this quote is when our characters are hearing the ghost. The ghost is kind of making activity and noises in the house. And the brother and sister are noticing these noises, and they don't really know where it is. As you can see, it says, if not in the kitchen, then it might have been in the hall. And maybe if not in the hall, maybe it was next to us. And so they really don't know where it's happening, where it's coming from, but they know that there is probably a ghost, or the ghost is somewhere in the house and near them. So that's why I put this quote for there's probably a ghost or monster in the story. And my little Bitmoji is kind of representing this Gothic literature slide. There's probably a ghost or monster in the story. Here is the ghost right there. And then here's my little Bitmoji. He's acting as one of the characters who's afraid. He doesn't really know where the ghost is, but he's afraid. And then if you guys remember our flashback to magical realism, which we haven't covered in a long time. We kind of brought it up at the beginning of the unit. And when we brought it up, we haven't really come back to it yet, because again, magical realism is just one element under the big umbrella that is Gothic literature. So in your assignment on Google Classroom, I've attached the characteristics of magical realism to the project. So you can just click on that, look at the characteristics, and then choose one for your novel. If you guys remember that a big one in The House Taken Over was that the setting is realistic and ordinary, almost boring. Because in the very beginning, the narrator is explaining he's giving a lot of description of the house. He's, in this quote that I've chosen, he explains why and what Irene knits and why she does it so much. And he goes into great detail of all the things that Irene knits. And it's very, very ordinary and very, very close to boring, if not boring. I thought it was boring. I'm assuming you guys did too. And here I have some images. Again, we have this blank background, which I thought kind of embodied the boring. And then I have my Bitmoji for those who like to be using Bitmojis. I said boring, he's yawning. And then I have these figures here, which I also found. And they are yawning as well. So if you don't like to use Bitmoji, there are other ways that you can still find pictures and find people to include in your slides that are kind of demonstrating what the Bitmoji is doing. So that's my magical realism slide. And then lastly, I have the supernatural slide. All right, so this one, I'm explaining what the supernatural creature is and why or how they are tormenting the people or the living in the novel. So again, we kind of went over this already, but our monster and creature in The House Taken Over is unknown to us as the audience. We don't really know what is taking over the house. We just know that something is taking over the house. We got somebody joining real quick. Sorry, hold on, guys. Yoslin, I'm going to post the link to the Pear Deck in the chat if you want to join that. We are right now just going over an example of our project. Okay, so supernatural, again, for House Taken Over, we don't really know what it is, so that's why my ghost here has a question mark on it, because we don't know what this supernatural creature is. So rather than put a whole bunch of monsters, I just put one monster with a question mark because we don't know. And then my Bitmoji is saying lost because he also doesn't know what the ghost is. And then for anyone that doesn't use Bitmoji, again, I've given an example of a woman kind of shrugging, saying the same thing as my Bitmoji, saying, I'm lost, I don't know what the ghost is, a little bit confused. So that is how I am showing my slides reflecting my information here. The creature is unknown, so I put a ghost with a question mark on it. And then lastly, this conclusion. So here you're explaining your overall thoughts and opinions over the novel that you chose. So overall, I really enjoy The House Taken Over because, and then you would explain why, or why not if you did not like it. And here my slide is again the same as my introduction slide. So I just kind of copy and pasted it right here. And I changed my Bitmoji. Instead of saying welcome, he's saying goodbye because this is the conclusion. I'm saying goodbye to whoever's watching it. And that's why he's saying cheerio, goodbye. So that is just an example of what your project can look like. I'm not saying make it look exactly like this or it needs to be something like this. I've had some people already turn it in their slides that have a different format. So rather than, for instance, I've had some people turn in this assignment with the audio and everything, and rather than creating a room like this, they have just selected a few photos that they think resemble the plot. So they've selected a picture of a brother and sister, kind of like crossing arms and looking at each other to represent the siblings. So they would have one photo like that, and then they would have a picture of a house. And then the third picture, they would have a few different kinds of monsters on it. So they would have 3 different photos that overall kind of represent the plot rather than kind of creating this entire room. And I'm okay with that as well. So, oh, and then I got a chat question that I want to answer to you guys, which was, do I need to include audio for each of these, each of the slides? And the answer to that is yes. Again, though, each audio really doesn't need to be that long. For the information part right here, again, I only put 30 seconds of clip here. So altogether, if you just put 30 seconds on each one, that's about, let's see, it's 5. That would be about 1.5 minutes worth of audio, which really isn't that much. If you go back to the rubric, actually, I have the rubric right here. If I go back to the rubric, you see that audio clips, if you meet the standards here, it's 20 points. If you don't include audio at all, that would be 0 points for this. And if you got 100% on everything else, but you just didn't do the audio, you would get 80%. So if you're okay with it 80% and you don't want to do the audio, you can, but I would encourage you to do so because I, as the teacher, of course, like to hear your guys' voices, and I don't really get that here in a virtual classroom. So it's nice for me, but if you really don't want to do that, you have the option not to do that. but you still would only get 80 points out of 100 if you did everything else correctly. So that is hopefully clears things up for that. At this moment, oops, nope. There we go. At this moment, can you guys give me a thumbs up in the chat, or sorry, a thumbs up, or just say I've got it in the chat if you understand this project and like the decorating each slide. If you don't understand it, then private message me saying I'm confused or what questions you might have. Sweet Alien says, got it. Thank you. All right, I've gotten 3 or 4 thumbs up. There's about 6 of you. All right, it looks like we are all on board. Sweet, if you do have questions, either private message me those questions or stay after class to ask them. And then I will happily go through those with you guys, all right? But this is just an example of what your presentation or project can look like. I wanted just to give you guys all the information right there, just give you guys some visuals to help you guys out. I'm getting a question in the privately, and it's asking, can you decorate it however you want? Yes, you can decorate it however you want. You can either, I've gotten some people who've deleted this slide right here because they just don't want it. They want this to be their kind of setup, but you can decorate it however you want. But make sure you're staying in the lines of like this Gothic literature, haunted house theme. So don't put like rainbows and sunshines everywhere because that's very against kind of our whole unit theme, which is Gothic literature. So more of this creepy, spooky, dark and gloomy kind of atmosphere. So make sure you capture that. But as long as you're doing that, you guys can decorate it however you want. Good question. All right, with that, send in more questions if you have any, but I'm going to move on to your guys' second thing, which is the audio refresher. So I want to make sure that we all understand how to implement or insert audio into our Google Slides, because again, that is one of the rubric points that you're going to be getting. And I want to show right off the bat, if we go to Google Classroom here, and we go down to, let's see, oh, here it is. Unit 1 project. You see Vocaroo right here. You have 2 options here. So you have the linked Vocaroo, and that is what you're going to use to record your audio. So you have it there. And then also if you click on this link right here, it's a different video of me telling a class, kind of walking them through how to use it. But again, if you click on this link, it shows you step by step on what to do. So if you ever get confused after I explain it now, you can look back on here. You can always email me questions about it. I'm happy to answer. But right here, it shows you the steps, and then there's a video of me explaining it, just to let you guys know. But I will be going over it right now. So the first step, as you can see, is go to vocaroo.com. And again, that is in your Unit 1 project. Vocaroo, you can just click on that link or you can type it out. But what will happen is it'll take you to this very simple website where, again, there's only one button. So it's a very simple thing. The only thing you can click is this red button. So I'm going to organize my tabs up here to have my presentation right next to it. Because say I want to record things for the characters, I have this right here. I would click, and as soon as I start clicking, it is now recording my audio. Hello, hello, hello. These are my 3 characters for the novel, The House Taken Over, yada, yada, yada. And I would say all of that, go back to this, click it again, and all of a sudden you can look, clicking. It is now recording my audio. Hello, hello, hello. These are my 3 characters for the novel, The House Taken Over, yada, yada, yada. And I would say all of that, go back to, and so right when I clicked that button, it stopped recording. And so then it presents you with this. So it says save and share. You're going to want to click that. So it says saving right now. And then you're going to want to download right here. So when you click download, it's taking a while. My computer is really slow. Sorry, guys. I'm going to rename it to characters because that's the, oops, hello. That's the, I still spelled it wrong. There we go. Characters, because that's the slide that I'm going to be putting this on. And that it says, where do you want to save it? I'm going to save it on desktop right here. So save. And it has that little download thing right here. And then if you guys can see, this is why I have my tabs a little bit open on my, my desktop. So characters right here, it's saved on my desktop. So I have the link right here. And the next step is then to go to my Google Drive. And here's all my stuff. Sorry about this, but this is the behind the scenes of creating your guys' assignments, your virtual classrooms. And I would click on this, hold it, and then drag it over here. And you can see this green plus button that I have right there. That means it is ready to add. So when I drop it on there, it's kind of lagging right now. But when I drag it on there, it says uploading, upload complete. And it should be on here now. I think it kind of got organized all the way at the bottom. But now if I go to my Unit 1 project and I want to add the audio here on characters, I would select insert. I would go to audio. Here we go. We have this new one. It says characters, and this is the one I would select. Boom. And then it says creating audio right here. Ignore that because you probably won't have to deal with that. And then here it is. I have my little megaphone right there, 12 seconds of audio, and that's just me saying hello, yada, yada, yada characters, as you guys heard me earlier. So that, again, just a refresher on how to insert that audio. Give me a thumbs up or got it in the chat if you guys understand, because I want to make sure that we are all on the same page before I send you guys off. Okay, I'm getting some thumbs up. Thank you. And again, yes, and again, you can find those steps here and how to insert audio Google Slides on Google Classroom. It shows you step by step on how to do that. But it looks like you all are understanding it. You guys gave me thumbs up. Thank you so much. But I just wanted to go through that with you guys so we're all on the same page before I let you guys out. So let's work on our last thing right now, which is this ACE prompt number 2. And again, we're gonna do a small activity right now that'll hopefully help you guys greatly with your writing portion of this ACE prompt. So again, where to find the ACE prompt, you would go to Google Classroom. It's that top assignment right here. And you have all 3 texts. And then you have what we are about to go over right now here at your disposal. But then the assignment right here is that first link. So I would click that. You guys don't have to do that right now. I'm just showing you guys where it is. And then when I click on the ACE prompt number 3, this is the document that comes up. So I have ACE prompt number 3. It should look a lot similar to your ACE prompt number 2. And the question that we're going to be answering is right here. What is the allure of fear in the 3 texts that we've read in Unit 1? So again, we're coming back to this essential question. What is the allure of fear? But we're answering what is the allure of fear in the 3 texts that we've covered, which seems like a lot, but we are going to cover A right here, right now, to hopefully ease your guys' stress a lot, and so to send you guys off into asynchronous time, being really confident with this assignment, being able to finish it, because we've had a few of you guys finish it already, which is great, but I just want to go through it with you guys now. So what I'm really asking you guys here with this question is, what is so scary about each of these novels? What is so scary and so exciting and alluring about these novels? So with that question being asked, I've kind of broken it down. So as you can see in this Pear Deck, it says, what is the scariest or most unsettling part of the house taken over? And so in the Pear Deck, you guys can respond. I've put 4 options right here for you guys, and there's not a right or wrong answer, but I've put 4 options for you guys. And if you find something that is scary about the house taken over that's not here, you can include it. These are just 4 that I think are kind of the big ones that you guys can choose from. But we have this element of unknown. As you guys remember, our ghost or our creature is unknown to us, and we don't know why it's taking over the house, but it is taking over the house. So this element of unknown is a big kind of unsettling or maybe scary part of the novel. It's kind of alluring. This fast-paced action. So we get these instances where the main character sees the door open, and all of a sudden he's running after his sister saying, we gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta go. and they run into another room, they lock it and say, all right, that part of the house is taken over. Now we're here. So that fast-paced action, maybe that's the scariest or kind of alluring part of the story. We have the switch between ordinary and horror. So again, we have this very, very boring beginning of the novel, but then all of a sudden, we get this switch to horror where the characters are now in this really fast-paced action. So that switch between ordinary and horror, or the setting, which is a haunted house that is kind of shrinking and shrinking because the more and more of the house is being taken over. So in the chat, sorry, not in the chat, in the Pear Deck response, again, there's no right or wrong answer. Which one of these, or maybe you have one that's not on here, is the most scary? And you don't even have to explain why, just put whichever one is most scary for you. So I'm gonna start sharing these responses. The unknown, all right. I think 3 of us put the unknown, somebody put the fast-paced action, awesome. So again, thank you guys for applying, thank you, awesome. So a lot of you guys put the unknown. So I'll use that as an example for you guys' text. So when you guys are writing, again, remember we have to restate the question. So what is the allure of fear in the 3 texts that we covered in Unit 1? How we would rephrase that is the allure of fear in the 3 texts that we've covered is the unknown aspect in the house taken over. So that would be your first one. And again, at the end of these 3 slides, I'll put them all together. So it'll give you an example of all of them together. So what I'm kind of vocally saying, they'll be on the slide for you. But the allure of fear in all 3 texts that we've covered in class is the unknown aspect of the house taken over, and then you have a comma, and then you would put the fear of the house, the haunting of Hill House. So now the same thing that we're doing here, which is the scariest or most unsettling part of the haunting of Hill House. So remember in that part 2, we have those really disturbing findings that Luke has in that book, these really dark elements, and the creator of that book writes his name in blood. It's just very unsettling material. So we have that one for number 1. Or we have the supernatural ghost family. Remember in part 3, when Theodora and Eleanor come across that family and Theodora says, all right, we got to get out of here. Do not look back. That whole scene, maybe that is the scariest or most unsettling part. Again, we have this switch between ordinary and horror. So in part 1, it's very normal. It's very ordinary. There's just a conversation. But then part 2 and part 3, we started to get this horror. And then lastly, we have the setting. So again, we have a haunted house. This time it's a little bit different. It's not closing in, but it's just a haunted house that is tormenting these people inside. So which of these 4, or maybe you have one of your own again, but which of these 4 is the most scariest or most unsettling part of the haunting of Hill House? And again, you just have to put one of these. There's not a right or wrong answer. It's just your opinion. So we got 1 response out of 6. Keep sending them in. What is the scariest or most unsettling part of the haunting of Hill House? We got 4 options there for you, but if you have your own, feel free to add that as well. I'm gonna start showing. We got the setting, switch between ordinary and horror. Okay, good, good. A few more seconds for anyone else who wants to reply. And if you guys are on your phone, feel free to reply in the chat. Thank you. All right, looks like the setting is a big one. You have to switch between the 2. Some people are saying that the ghost family scene. All right, good. The switch between ordinary and horror. Awesome. Sweet. Thank you guys again for responding. So now we've covered 2. So let's use our example from the unknown, and then let's use our example for the switch between ordinary and horror. So you would say the allure of fear in all 3 of our texts is the unknown element in the house taken over, the switch between ordinary and horror in the haunting of Hill House, and then you put a comma, and the blank of Beloved. So what in Beloved is the scariest or most unsettling part of the novel? So again, we have the actions of human beings. So in this one, our characters kind of, the real fear in this novel is a lot from the main, or from human beings. So the supernatural isn't really tormenting our main characters. It's kind of other human beings, which we see a lot in modern horror films right now, that the main villain or the main supernatural creature that is harming the living is actually a human being. Because we get Setha in her days at Sweet Home as a slave. We see all the treatment that she kind of goes through. And so it's these actions of other human beings done to other human beings. So maybe that's the unsettling part. We have the realistic fear, which we've kind of covered in class before, but it's this more real fear rather than vampires and werewolves and clowns. We have this realistic fear that Setha is going through with oppression and not wanting to be abused again, or be she doesn't want to relive her past as a slave. These more realistic fears, maybe that's the scariest part, because maybe we can relate to this kind of fear a little bit more. We have the connection between the ghost and characters. So this is our first novel where the ghost and the characters have some kind of relationship, because the ghost, again, is the dead daughter of one of our characters. And then lastly, the time period and setting. So again, we have another house that is haunted by a ghost. And then we also have this time period revolving around, closely around the Civil War. That might be unsettling or kind of scary to some of us. All right. So what is the scariest or most unsettling part of Beloved? We've kind of just went over these 4. If you have another one that's not up here, feel free to put that down. You can message me again in the chat if you have that. I'm going to start showing the responses. The actions of human beings, okay. The realistic fear was slightly disturbing. I agree. I agree with both of those. I'll give you guys a few more seconds to either put down a reply or send one in the chat. Realistic fear, okay. It seems to be the number 1 answer, I think, there. Awesome. Thank you guys for participating again. We are so close to being done, so just keep paying attention, keep staying focused. So lastly, here is the example that I wanted to leave you guys with. So here's a template or an outline of what your A for ACE can look like. So the lure of fear in the 3 texts that we've covered in this unit is the blank in The House Taken Over, the blank in The Haunting of Hill House, and the blank in Beloved. So again, a lot of you put the element of unknown for this one. A lot of you put the transition between ordinary and horror. And then a lot of you just put the realistic fear here. So how I would say this, or how I would write this, if I were to kind of insert those ones in here, would be the allure of fear in the 3 texts that we've covered in Unit 1 is the element of unknown in The House Taken Over, the shift between ordinary and horror in The Haunting of Hill House, and the realistic fear in Beloved. So that's an example for you guys. And again, all those 4 slides that we just covered are in your Google Classroom to help you guys out. So if you go to Ace Prompt and you guys are doing that assignment, if you guys look right here, those 4 slides that we just covered are right here to help you guys. And I want to take a lot of ease off of this assignment as much as I can, because I know you're working on this as well as the project. So after that, you already have your A if you complete that. And then you would just find examples of those things in each of your texts. So if you selected the realistic fear in Beloved, you would go in with Beloved into your text Beloved, and you would find an example of that realistic fear, of that fear that Setha has of being oppressed or being a recent slave and not wanting her children to go through the same. So you'd find a quote about that, and then you kind of elaborate, why is this so scary? Why is this realistic fear scary to some of us, to you, to other people? And you would just explain why, as we've covered in ACE prompt number 1 and ACE prompt number 2. All right? So that is your guys's lesson for today. I know it was not our usual 20 minutes. We kind of went through the entire usual 45 that we kind of started our year with. but I wanted to make sure that we were all good with the presentation, good with audio, and then I wanted to give you guys plenty of help with this ACE3 prompt. So for your asynchronous time, again, guys, grades are due November 4th. And then, so this is your last class because on Wednesday, it's going to be an even day. So I won't see you guys until Thursday, and that is November 5th. So that is a day after grades are due. I'll probably have one small activity where you guys will be able to turn in 1 or 2 assignments, but the majority of your work needs to be done by November 4th. And these are the things to focus on. Those novel information slides, which a lot of you have already turned in, which I've been grading and giving back to you guys. So thank you for that. Complete that Unit 1 project. We've kind of gone over it now with the audio, with the images, which I hope you guys have enjoyed. So now you have that done for the project. And then that ACE prompt number 3, which I think 2 of you or maybe 3 of you have already turned in, which is great. Thank you guys so much. But now you have that aided help for you guys in Google Classroom that we've went over in class. But then again, it is as a document that you guys can look at whenever you need to, as you guys are completing your ACE prompt number 3. So those are the 3 main assignments that I need you guys to be working on with asynchronous time. If you have any questions with your grade or any questions with any of these projects, stay after and ask me, because this is the day to ask, okay? Because I will not be, because we will not be meeting until after this due date. So it's important that you have everything cleared up today so that you can turn everything in by November 4th. You can send me emails, of course, but it'll be easiest to do it here in person. So if you guys have no questions, feel free to put your first and last name in the chat so I can put you guys down as here for attendance. And then you guys are good to go work on this asynchronous time. Thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you for participating, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.